If you caught my video where I was talking about not having any more time scrapbooking, you'll know that I recently started a new job, and at that new job, they gave me this notebook. Isn't that gorgeous? It has gold sparkle on it and butterflies and just like cursive writing in the background. So pretty. And as soon as I received this, I was like, I'm going to create a scrapbook layout, like using this as inspiration. So that is what we are going to do today. We are going to use this notebook as inspiration for a scrapbook layout. I am documenting another coffee date here that my husband and I went to. Look at the cast iron table legs. Isn't that so cool? And then they were like marble tabled. I just thought it was really cool. We got some breakfast. And then I got some tea, so I made this You're My Cup of Tea mug. Love you a latte. I have some steam that we can tuck in there. So this is what we're working with. And then I cut this, which is not lavender, but I stamped it in kind of that purple color, lavender color, in hopes to make it look kind of like lavender. So we'll see if that ties in nicely or not, because my tea here, I had a London Fog, has little lavender in it. Okay, so that's what we're working with. Set those aside. And the other collection I want to bring in is the Nature's Sweetness. I've used this quite a bit, so there's not a whole lot left. Quite a bit left actually, but it's all kind of cut into. So Nature's Sweetness, it has that gold foil. And this one has gold foil as well with that writing. This one is just the writing, no gold foil. And then we have gold foil florals, a gray side, and then this one has gold foil as well, kind of with those leaves. So I am thinking maybe, where'd it go? This one with the writing with that gold foil splatter, and then maybe this one, like that little texture. The back side of this is that. So I'm thinking maybe these, and then a whole bunch of stamping. Because I only have these pictures here and I can cut these apart, I might just do a single page layout, and I could kind of do something like that and then use this as embellishment of some sort. This is like their little menu, and it gives the history of the building. It was a really old building, so I think that might be fun. So we're just going to do a single page. So I'll just bring in one of my Versamats. I have some white willow cardstock since I'm going to be doing a lot of stamping, and I'm not quite sure how I want my page laid out. I could just do a strip of this down the side and then do all of my inking and whatnot over here. I could do like a frame style and have like that, and then do all of my stamping. This is charcoal, which is what those words are back there, I believe. They're kind of a gray. Charcoal is a close to my heart color, so it's not the exact, but what if I just did a fine border of that? I like that. And then we can do some stamping and whatnot, and then have my photos, maybe a title here. I could gut out the inside of this charcoal as well and map my photos with it. I think I'm gonna start there. So I don't want to waste all of this paper since we're going to be hiding most of it. So I'm going to cut out the inside, and I'll show you how I do that. You'll need a rail trimmer. A guillotine won't work. And I'm gonna go up 1.5 inches since I was showing 1 inch. So I want room for my adhesive. Oh, I got stuck there. So then you go 1.5 inches and then you leave 1.5 inches here, which would be 10.5 inches. And then we'll rotate it, go up 1.5 inches on my measurement here. Start at 1.5 inches and go over to the, there's something in my rail right there. I'm gonna need to clean it, but not right now. So starting at 1.5 inches over to the 10.5. And one more cut. Lining this up with the 1.5 inches here, 10.5 here, over to 1.5 inches here. So now I have all of this I can use on a future project or for my embellishments. My charcoal is cut to 10 by 10, and I am going to gut out the center of this one as well. This one I'm just gonna do at 1 inch. I'm not even showing that much. That actually gives me quite a bit of room for adhesive, but that's all right. It's easier than trying to cut a very narrow frame. And then the inside of that we can use to mat some of our photos. And then I just need to cut down this white piece. I'm not gonna glue down this white piece yet since I'm doing a bunch of stamping. I don't want there to be that lip here. So I'm going to set this mat aside, and since I have my other Versamat, I'm just gonna move this one out of the way and flip this one over so I have that foam to stamp on. And we'll do all of our stamping here. The stamps I'm thinking about bringing in are the Thoughtful Wishes for these floral pieces, kind of like how they have the sprigs kind of sticking out. The background stamps of the elements of text so that I can do the words. For my title, I think I'm gonna do Love Every Moment. And I could bring in some of these florals too if I wanted to kind of mimic this. And then the butterflies to mimic their butterflies. I might also bring in Love This Moment for this floral piece here. It reminds me of this. So if I did that on a corner, but it's quite a bit smaller. It's not very large, but it could add a little fun detail. So we'll see how that could play in. I could also include some of these words or the journaling spots too. I might also bring in this oldie but goodie. This is the Perfectly Imperfect from Close to My Heart. So I have some stamps. I have these square pieces that might kind of look similar to that if I wanted to add a little bit of that. And of course my splatters. This one is falling off. So this is what we're going to work with. Let me grab some ink, some mixed media, and we'll get started. I have my embossing heat tool, and I don't have any gold, so I have to use silver embossing powder. I wish I had gold, but if I do, I don't know where it is. So we're going to use silver instead of gold, but I also brought in some periwinkle because I want to bring in kind of that lavender color since I had a lavender London fog. So I think periwinkle and silver embossing powder will still look good together. Plus I might bring in some other shades of blues, purples. I'm thinking maybe some sapphire as well. Starting with my elements of text, I'm bringing in my Versamark. I need a block still. We're going to start with that. And I am also going to set aside my metallic enamel effects in the silver. I think that will look cool with this mixed media type stuff as well. So let's get started. This goes this direction. Now I wouldn't need to put the Versamat this way because this already has the foam, but maybe I can Just move this out of the way for now until I'm ready to use my other stamps. So, here we go. Actually, I am going to bring in a little bit of my cornstarch and just rub this all over because I don't want any of the embossing powder to stick to my paper with the static. So we're just going to go all over this and then shake it into my garbage here. Okay, that removed the static and created a mess. All right. Make sure my words are going the right direction. And I think I'm just going to do maybe one here. And then another over here. And maybe down here and go off my page a little bit. So I need some scratch paper. Okay, so I slid my scratch paper under there. And let's just go like right about here. Okay, set that aside and we'll sprinkle some of this embossing powder on. Okay, and then I just use a coffee filter. Shake this one off. This is making a huge mess. That's all right. Sometimes messes are fun. I'm taking a paintbrush and I'm just gonna flick off any extra here. I'll bring in the heat gun and I just like to heat it off, off my paper first, and then I'll go in and heat up the actual embossing powder. Okay, off to a good start. This is another one of the elements of text. Okay, let's go ahead and heat that up. Careful, you can burn your page. So there we go. I am going to try to mimic kind of these water spots now. So let's bring in I have such a mess here. We're bringing in the Perfectly Imperfect, and I'm going to do a few of these, and then maybe some of these as well. So I'm gonna start with the Periwinkle. And I might even do second generation. So I'm gonna bring in that same scratch paper. I'm running out of table space here. And I do want to bring my Versamat back in. Okay, such a mess. So let's stamp off and then stamp on, maybe right there. I'm trying to think where all I want more butterflies, maybe over in this area. And let's do one hanging off the page over here. And let's go ahead and bring in those butterflies then. I'm thinking this one. Oh, maybe a smaller butterfly. I have, so that's this one. And then this one's even a little bit smaller. Let's do that one there. And then I might stamp some of those bigger spots, this one, for that other butterfly. Do kind of over there. Maybe one over there. Okay, so we can set that aside. That one went flying. Okay. That's gonna look cool. Where did my other butterfly go? I did it on that one, right? Let's see if it shows up. Yep, there it is. All right, let's go ahead and emboss those. I'm bringing in the Everyday You and Me stamps, and I think I'm gonna do single stamping, first generation stamping of some of these roses. I'm gonna bring in my photos here, just kind of see what we're looking like. We put that here. I definitely need more. I just don't know what else. And like this Better Together was gonna be my title. Do I want, I might end up stamping it on another piece of paper and then like popping it up and fussy cutting it out. I think that might look good right here. I have ink on my thumb that's getting on things. Oh goodness. Okay. And give it a second to soak in. I want it to be nice and bold. Beautiful. I'm gonna let that dry a minute while before I cut it out so that I don't smudge it. So, looking at some of my other embellishments that I had created, I brought in some glacier and some honey butter because I was thinking about bringing in a Latte Love collection or a little latte. So I had brought those in. Maybe I should incorporate some of those into my background stamping also. So let's see what else I have. I have this little smudge mark that might look good coming out. So I could do that. I need a bigger block. And I could do that in some glacier and honey butter. So here's glacier. And then we have the 3 photos. I probably should have come up with my layout first. So I'm just going to leave a little white border around this. As I'm cutting this out, I'm kind of thinking where my embellishments are gonna go, and I'm not liking how the background stamping is looking. I like the idea of it. It definitely needs more added, but I'm not liking it with the embellishments and photos. I started laying my photos out on this and I wasn't liking it, so I'm going to set this aside and hopefully use it on a future project. So we are going to scratch this idea. And I started laying out my photos how I think I would want them. And I brought in those embellishments that I had made previously. So I kind of liked my title there, Better Together. Here's my little mugs there. I think I want to do like a line of these little photos. And then I still have the history behind this little restaurant place. So I thought maybe I could kind of include that into the embellishments as well. Maybe do something like that. So if I go this route with my photos, really I only have this much showing behind. So really all of those background stampings and whatnot wouldn't show. So I think I like this. I think I want to bring in more sapphire, more periwinkle, more glacier, and more yellow. So I have some scrap pieces of sapphire, and I'm thinking I might matte my big one with sapphire. Let me see if I have any periwinkle. I could bring in a strip of periwinkle behind these. Maybe even some white behind the photos to make those pop off the periwinkle a little bit more. And then I could bring in some inks, where's my glacier? I'll find my glacier ink pad. Where did I put it? You guys, I have such a mess. I should turn my camera around and show you. Do you guys see my glacier ink anywhere? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Oh, here it is. Okay, so bringing in these 3 colors, I might do just a little bit of stamping. Maybe bring in the splatter, maybe the little splotches. I might bring those around. So let's grab another piece of white and start cutting photo mats and see where this is gonna go. I stamped out these little roses to add around my clusters. So this layout turned out way different from what I had originally planned, with using something like this and using my notebook as inspiration. I'm definitely going to have to try that again. Maybe get some gold embossing powder too so I can do it more exact, but I still like how this layout turned out. It's just not exactly what I had in mind. So sometimes that happens. Sometimes as you start creating, it just takes a completely different turn. But here it is, and I added 1 gold adhesive to each cluster. I only had 3 left, and I thought it was perfect since I had 3 clusters. I am going to add my journaling right here, so that'll fill in this blank spot, and I could even write my date up here. Even though I ended up not using my embossed piece on this particular layout, I hope it inspired you to use some different products on your layouts. And it's okay if it doesn't turn out. You can toss that aside, use it for a different project, and create something completely different. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Anything that's available is linked in the description box below. Until next time, live a life worth scrapping.